Hi, once again, Paladin fans. Dan Scott here, and we are getting ready for Week 2 of the 2021 football season as Clay Hendricks' team heading on the road for the first time to take on Tennessee Tech in Cookeville, Tennessee. And we're looking forward to seeing if we can get off to a 2-0 start here in the world of Furman football after the 29-18 win over North Carolina A&T in the opener. That was a game in which the defense did its thing, especially in the run game, holding Jermaine Martin to just 33 yards rushing, a guy who had ran for almost 1,500 yards in 2019 for the Aggies, and in fact, it was the fourth best single-season rushing effort in school history. He had 23 rushing touchdowns that year. They absolutely shut him down. And head coach Clay Hendricks, as most of you know, is not one given to a lot of hyperbole. On Monday, however, he called the play of his front seven in that game against the Aggies dominating. And that came from the head coach. It didn't come from the radio guy. So that tells you how well that front seven played the run. Now we'll see if they can do it again this week in Cookeville. I'm excited about this for a number of reasons. A, we get on the road for the first time. B, I'm going into the stomping grounds of one of my best friends in the world who played at Tennessee Tech from 1979 to 1981, I believe. Dan Diesel, who is now the mayor of Titusville, Florida. He is in the Space Coast Sports Hall of Fame. He's just an incredible football coach and even better human being. Wonderful friend of mine. This is his home turf that we're going into. And so, Dan, I wanted to make sure that I tip my cap to you if I was wearing one. And then also, I will be searching the campus for that statue. And if I don't find it, then I'll need to know who to address the complaint letter to. The Paladins and Golden Eagles have not met since 1976. They have played twice. They have split the series, and ironically enough, very small sample size. But in each game, the winning team scored 17 points. This time around, the Paladins are coming off of a 29-18 win in the season opener over North Carolina A&T. And the Golden Eagles dropped a 52-14 decision on the road at Samford to open the season. A score that's a bit deceiving because they were down 17-0. They got back to 17-14, and that was the score midway through the third quarter. Then there was a long interception return that set up a short field for an easy touchdown. I believe a punt return for a touchdown, and Samford got it rolling and kind of ran away with things in the final quarter and a half of that game. But this is a team in Tennessee Tech that has been very good at home over the last couple of seasons, scoring wins this spring over Austin Peay and going back, knocking off Jacksonville State back in 2019. So they have been able to put together some pretty good wins at home. So we kind of take a look at a little bit of who they are. They're a spread offense. Their defense is going to be a base 4-2-5. You can see they have a large number of lettermen returning and a large number of starters returning on both sides of the ball, 8 offensively, 10 defensively. Did not have a great spring. They were 2-5 and finished tied for 6th in the Ohio Valley Conference, and all of their games, like in the Southern Conference, were conference games. They have not won a conference championship since 2011. That's the last time they went to the FCS playoffs, and in fact, it's the only time they have ever been to the FCS playoffs back in 2011. When you start to look at some of the matchups between the teams, we start with some quick facts comparing head coaches. Dwayne Alexander is a Tennessee Tech graduate, so he's coaching at his alma mater, 9-22 in his 4th season at Tech. You can see that he had previous head coaching experience, 50-55 overall. Their passing leader, Davis Shanley, we're going to talk more about that in just a moment, 159 yards last week against Samford. David Gist ran for 72 yards. You can see the receiving and tackles leaders there. Josh Relaford had a big game defensively with 11 tackles. On the left side of your screen, you have the look at Furman's numbers individually, the leaders from the game last week at North Carolina A&T, or against North Carolina A&T here at Paladin Stadium. When you start to look at how they stack up from a points per game standpoint, Again, these are all one-game totals, so these are going to start to fluctuate and build, of course, as more games are played. But you see the points per game, points allowed, the rushing yardage. Clay Hendricks talking about how his team needs to run the football better. They knew it was going to be difficult to run against the Aggies because of the experience and size of the front four. 125 yards rushing, but put together, of course, that final drive in which you could really see the fatigue taking its toll on North Carolina A&T, ran the ball when they needed to, and got that field goal that made it a two-score game again late. Tech only rushed for 69 yards and only threw for 162. So you look at the total offense from game one, Furman 487 because of the success in the passing game, and the Golden Eagles with just 231. And right down the line, red zone, penalty yardage, the Paladins with 89 yards in penalties. That's something they have been working on this week. Tech did not attempt a field goal, and average time of possession. When you play Samford, you usually end up with more time of possession than they do, and the Golden Eagles had it for 33 minutes and 53 seconds. Furman, 32 minutes and 50 seconds here at Paladin Stadium against the Aggies. So those are just some of the numbers when you start comparing. And again, it's after one game. It'll be interesting as we do these going deeper into the season and you start to see some of those numbers accumulating. You really get a sense on the per-game average for how each side of the ball is performing. But that's what it looks like after one single game. The plot line, or one of the plot lines that we're following here on the radio side of things, is at the quarterback position. The Golden Eagles started a sophomore by the name of Willie Miller in their game against Samford, and I believe he played 3 series, and then they brought in a young man by the name of Davis Shanley, who is a graduate transfer from Western Kentucky University, and he played most of the rest of the game. Now, interestingly enough, Miller saw some time after that at wide receiver, actually caught a couple of passes, and talking with Dwayne Vaughn, the defensive coordinator here at Furman, it's one of the things that he just kind of made a note of in the back of his head, and something that I'm sure they've looked at in practice this week, setting up the possibility of some kind of trickery and a double pass with a second quarterback in the game at a wideout spot. So just kind of keep that in mind. Shanley had his ankle rolled up on late in that ball game. He did continue to play. I think Miller may have come back in for one more series. But on the depth chart they released this week, Shanley, the graduate, is the guy who was listed as the starter for this week against the Paladins. And it'll be intriguing to see how that plays out, because Miller's more of a dual threat guy. Shanley is more of a pocket passer type of guy. He can run, but that's not the strength of his game. And one of the focuses this week, in talking with Dwayne Vaughn and with head coach Clay Hendricks defensively, has been getting to the quarterback. Got 1 sack against North Carolina A&T, and they got that off of a great call on a corner blitz. They got about another 8 or 9 quarterback hurries, but did not get to the quarterback outside of that one time. So that's going to be a focus, and you've got a drop-back passer who may be a little gimpy with that ankle. We'll have to wait and see how that all plays out. But that's one of the plot lines that we are watching for as we head into this one on Saturday afternoon in Cookeville, Tennessee. The other will be how well the Paladins can run the football. And then in talking with George Quarles, the offensive coordinator, he told us, and you'll hear this in the coordinator's corner on the Pepsi Countdown to Kickoff during the pregame tomorrow. He said he looked at the stat sheet after the game, realized they had thrown it 40 times, and he was joking when he said this, worried that he wouldn't have a job because the Clay Hendricks football team has not thrown the ball 40 times in a game. 17 of those, however, were true called drop-back passes. 13 of those were run-pass options. And Hamp Sisson, by and large, had a really good day. 25 out of 40, the 362 yards, the second most single-season or single-game passing yardage totals in Furman history, which kind of surprised me that in my 11th year here, I still didn't realize that no Furman quarterback in history has thrown for 400 yards a game. The most in a game, a single game, was by Reese Hannon, going back to, I believe, my second season here, the 2012 season, in the triple overtime game against Coastal Carolina. He threw for 365 yards in that loss. And prior to Hamp Sisson's total and the Paladins' win, the top 4 passing yardage games in Furman history had all come in losses. So 362 yards and a 29-18 win. Will they throw it 40 times again? Well, they don't want to, but one of the things that you're going to notice in a change in the Furman offense, I think, this year is you're going to see that as more of an option, more of an attack mode, more of those RPOs, the run-pass options that could lead to some higher passing totals depending on what the defense gives and what it doesn't give. So something else that we're following here as we make our way into this week from a radio standpoint. Here is the rest of the Southern Conference schedule. Everybody plays on Saturday this week. It begins early with VMI at Kent State at 11:30. Citadel hosting Charleston Southern in the Battle of the City of Charleston there. Of course, you see Furman at Tennessee Tech at 2:30. Mercer at number 1 Alabama at 4 p.m. Western Carolina at number 2 Oklahoma at 7 p.m. Chattanooga will be on the road at North Alabama. That's also a 7 o'clock start, as is Sanford at UT Martin. And at 7:30, East Tennessee State will host UVA Wise. A quick note about that Western Carolina-Oklahoma game. Daniel Hooker, who is the very fine sports information director at Western, had a birthday this week, and I sent him a little text, as we guys do, talking about how old he is and all of that stuff. But I also mentioned how life comes full circle. Kerwin Bell, the new head coach at Western Carolina, when I was living and working in the state of Florida back in 1991 and 1992 and working as a sports writer, I did all of the sports for a weekly publication called the Star Advocate, which was owned by the Florida Today, which is where the USA Today came from, a Gannett entity. And I did a lot of work for the Florida Today as well. And one of the things that I did was cover the Orlando Thunder of the World League, and the quarterback for one of those 2 seasons was Kerwin Bell. Life comes at you in a lot of different ways and eventually seems to come back full circle. Anyway, you can have that for free. It has nothing to do with this week's game. The broadcast schedule on ESPN Upstate, our flagship station, 97.7 FM in Greenville, 97.1 in Spartanburg, is as follows. 1 o'clock Furman time, 1 o'clock Eastern, we will hit the air with the Pepsi countdown to kickoff, and the game will begin at 2:30 p.m. It is on ESPN Plus. We invite you to watch it, but to turn the sound down and to listen to our broadcast. You can get the link at FurmanPaladins.com, which will take you directly to ESPNUpstate.com, so you can go either place and get the listen live there. Sync it up. Listen to David Cobb, Marcus McMorris, Tom Van Hoy, and me as we bring you Week 2 of Furman football, Furman and Tennessee Tech in Cookeville, Tennessee. We look forward to having you on board for the broadcast and hope that you will enjoy it and hope that the Paladins can come away with the second win of the season in as many opportunities. We'll see you from Cookeville coming up tomorrow. We're releasing this on Friday, so obviously the game is tomorrow. 1 o'clock again, the Pepsi countdown to kickoff. Hope that you can make it, and we'll see if the Paladins can go to 2-0 on the season. Until then, I'm Dan Scott, as always, saying God bless you, and so long, everybody.